Well, today we're making a really fun item. We're making Kangnam-style potato focaccia with our local potatoes here in this beautiful East Coast, Korea. And we're going to combine that with California cheese. So this is going to be a really special dish. Very simply, we're going to put some water in the bowl. And I'm using this beautiful piece of Korean pottery. And here I have a biga that I created last night. And then we're going to mix in, and you don't have to be very picky about this. You just kind of mix it lightly. Nothing special. We're going to add our yeast. And we're going to add some of these beautiful Kangnam potatoes. So we're just going to put those in. The thing about these potatoes that's really great is they are a waxy potato, but they're going to add a lot of moisture to our focaccia. And that's going to make our focaccia super tender, super tasty, and it's also going to help the rise of the focaccia because of the sugars that are in the potato. So we're now going to add our flour, and I always leave a little bit of the flour out. We don't know if we need all of it. So I'm going to just start to stir that together. At this point, before I've fully mixed it, I'm actually just going to let it sit for 5 minutes. We're just going to leave it to sit for 5 minutes, cover it with a cloth, and allow those molecules of flour to expand within the water and let it all just start to become a dough. We're going to come back in 5 minutes and we're going to continue mixing it. 5 minutes have gone by and you can see that it's already starting to absorb all of the liquid. So at this point, we're going to add some salt. And we're going to add our olive oil. This is California olive oil, and we're just going to add that in, and we're going to stir it together. At this point, I need to make a decision about how wet to keep this dough. And I want this dough to be very wet. I shouldn't be able to mix it with my fingers at all into a solid mass. What I want to see is thicker than a pancake dough, but not as thick as a bread dough. So I am going to need to add more of this flour, and I'll add it just a little at a time to see that the dough is coming together. I can smell it already. I can smell those potatoes in there. I can smell the olive oil. Monterey Jack from California is our oldest cheese in California. It's from the early 1800s, and it's one of the originals, and it's still being made in California. We use it for everything from pizzas to bread dough to sandwiches. It's probably our most versatile cheese. And it's called California Monterey Jack. So as you can see now, the dough is coming together. At this point, when you're at home and you're making this, you may want to get your hands in there. It can be very relaxing. And as soon as the dough comes into as you can see, a kind of a solid mass, but it's still not able to be kneaded as a solid round bread dough. That's exactly where we want it. So it takes a little bit of muscle power to get that mixed together. And at that stage, we're going to leave this dough, we're going to cover it with some plastic wrap, and we're going to leave the dough to rise for about an hour and a half until it's nice and puffy, and then we're going to move it to the pans. So as you can see here, the focaccia dough has been sitting at room temperature for approximately 1.5 hours, and it's nicely puffed up and ready to go. What I'm going to do is add some olive oil to my pan, a generous amount of olive oil, and I'm going to make sure that that is in all the corners of my pan. So you can spread it in with your hand, or you can spread it in with a spatula. Either way works. And then we're ready to pour our dough into the pan. So I'm going to pour about half of my dough in here. And that, at which stage I'm going to drizzle a little bit of olive oil on the top. And now I am going to use my hand to press the dough just really gently into the sides of the pan. And it's okay if some olive oil comes up and over the edge of your dough. Don't be too picky. All we're trying to do is get that dough into the edges of our pan. So I'm just poking it down, showing it who's boss. Getting it right into the edges of the pan, and then I'm going to cover it with plastic wrap, and I'm going to put it in the fridge overnight. So we'll just cover it with plastic wrap, and then we'll take it to the fridge. Today we're making a delicious olive oil dip to go with our potato focaccia. We made a potato focaccia using local potatoes, and we're going to make this really delicious, super simple dip that's easy to do at home, that you can take to a party, and you can literally just dip that fresh focaccia in there, and it's super delicious. So we have a little bit of chopping to do, and first we're going to take some good quality California olive oil, and we're just going to put that right in the bottom of our bowl. And I'm going to also add, and I have some California balsamic, but you can use balsamic from anywhere, and I'm just going to add that balsamic vinegar so that we have a nice acidic flavor profile. All right, let's chop some ingredients, and these can really vary depending on what it is that you are looking to achieve or what you have in your fridge. So I'm going to do some sun-dried tomato today, some sun-dried tomato. I'm going to do some green olives. These are Castelvetrano olives, but they can be any type of olive that you choose. And you can chop them pretty roughly. They don't need to be pretty. It can be just a very simple chop. These are Kalamatas, but any black olives will work. And I have some really delicious Calabrian chilies here. So I just like to slice those. That way people can avoid them if they don't want something spicy, or if they're looking for spice, they can go right in for those Calabrian chilies. And they add a nice pop of color, and they're very beautiful, pretty, and at the same time, nice and spicy, and just add a little bit of spice to that. Okay, so we're also gonna add some local herbs. This is a Korean parsley. And then, of course, we're gonna add the star of the show, our cheese. And we have this delicious cheese today. This is a point raised toma with Provençal herbs. So it's our Toma Provence. And I'm pretty excited to use this one. I think you're going to love it. It's got a lot of dried herbs in there. We have some fresh herbs in the olive oil dip, and then we'll have these delicious dried herbs in our Toma Provence, the Provençal herbs. And I'm just going to cut that cheese into some small cubes, and we'll add that right to our cheese dip. So we've got a beautiful combination here of olive oil, balsamic vinegar, cheese, sun-dried tomatoes, and the Calabrian chilies. And I think that that combination of all of those ingredients are going to really add a delightful sampling of taste to our dish. We'll put a little bit of a sprinkle of salt on top just to pick up the flavors of the balsamic and the olive oil. And so simple. This is something you can do in just a few moments at home, and we're going to serve that with a delicious focaccia. And now to finish this dish, we're going to add a really delicious roasted garlic. So we did a really simple way of roasting the garlic. I cut the top off the garlic and placed it in a tinfoil lined pan. A little bit of water, salt and pepper, and some olive oil. And then I have this gorgeous roasted garlic that I can squeeze out like that, and it's just going to go right into the dip. So we can actually squeeze it right in, or you can serve it whole on the side, and then people can scoop up some of that wonderful roasted garlic. We have our beautiful olive oil dip with our olives and tomatoes and roasted garlic, and of course our Provence Toma Provence. So this is really great. We've got our focaccia with the local potatoes, and that's going to accentuate this delicious dish. So let's go ahead and cut into it. You can really smell the aroma of the potatoes. So we are just going to cut in a few nice slices. I always think that threes look nice, so I'm going to put 3 together here. We're going to put 3 pieces together here, and we're going to serve it. We'll put 1 piece there, and we're going to serve our dip.